Thank you so much. Okay, we've got some music coming up, a real treat. We have Hawk Henry's coming up. We'll bring him up to the stage. It might take a minute to get set up. Come on up, Hawk. You're on. Hawk is an artist and composer and a flute musician, and I'll introduce him more formally in just a moment. He's going to get up there and get his sound check. And yeah, I wish I could be at that Dartmouth show, but it is sold out. But maybe we can bring Yo-Yo and the crew to this area. Wouldn't that be great? Well, truly it takes a village to put this on here today, and I just want to say a big thanks to all the volunteers. Too many to name, but please stand up, raise your hand, wave at us, and give them a huge, huge round of applause, because this is impossible to do without incredible, committed people, and we so appreciate you. And you've been working tirelessly for months on this. So thank you so much to all of our volunteers and committee members. We also want to thank our community partners in this work. The Waterfront Trust, of course, first and foremost. We're here with Edith Hake, who's the manager extraordinaire. Thank you, Edith, for all your support. And of course, the City of Newburyport for their support here as well, using their city property. And we want to thank all of the other sponsors and supporters, the Massachusetts Cultural Council, including Newburyport, Amesbury, Newbury, West Newbury, Merrimack, Salisbury, and Rowley, all local cultural councils supporting today's event. Thank you to them. We want to thank Bank Prov as our primary bank sponsor. Thank you, Bank Prov, for your support. The Massachusetts Center for Native American Awareness, a wonderful organization doing important work in our area. Please support them and make a donation to them today. Thank you to Burns Stanley and the Mass Center. We have Cultural Survival right over there. Go over to they're waving, go over to their table, show some love to them. They do incredible work all throughout North America and beyond. And we appreciate them and all their support. We have the Newburyport Human Rights Commission and DEI. I don't know if we have any representatives here, but you can wave at us if you're here anywhere. We also have the YWCA. We want to thank Amanda and Amy and Kate. Thank you, YWCA. They've done so much to support this event. We could not have done it without you. Thank you. We also want to thank the Unitarian Universalist First Religious Society, Reverend Rebecca Ryan, and others for all of their leadership in helping to start this. In fact, 5 years ago, this started as a very small event down at Moseley. Some of you may remember that event. And I don't know if Reverend Rebecca is here today, but she's here in spirit. We want to thank her and the other volunteers and representatives. We have the advocacy table back there, and they help sponsor that. Thank you to Marion and Marianne and Linda Lou. Give them a shout out. Go over there and learn about what you can do to get involved and to help and support different Indigenous causes and peoples today. They do great advocacy work. We also have some great land acknowledgement posters for a small donation. You can take one home or to your office and proudly display your land acknowledgement. We want to also thank Unity on the River, one of our other community partners. Wherever they are out there, they might be out there. We also want to thank the trustees of reservations, Val Perini and the trustees who are here somewhere. And Heartwood Nature School. Thank you to Daniela Gutierrez, one of our longtime committee members and doing children's activities and workshops and all that she does. Thank you, Daniela. We also want to thank the center Kat and the center are here today too, doing awesome work in Amesbury with arts and cultural programs for kids and adults, a brand new place in Amesbury, so be sure to check that out. We also have ACES, we mentioned earlier, and the Art Association. Thank you to the Art Association for their support of our raffle and other things, and to Read the Regenerative School. And we want to give a big shout out to Merrowhawk Nature School. Kate and Rob and Ryan, give them a huge round of applause because they have done so much to support this Machoon project, the Merrimack Machoon project, which we are so delighted is going to launch and have its maiden voyage today. And we just thank you. You've done such a tremendous amount of work to bring this to fruition from start to finish. So thank you. And I think we're ready for Hawk, so are we ready? All right. Okay, I'm gonna introduce Hawk now more formally. We are so delighted to have Hawk. He's an artist, composer, a flute musician. He has expertly crafted Eastern woodland flutes through ancestral and contemporary techniques. His transformative performances create contemplative spaces for unity and meaningful reflection on how we each have the capacity to make change in the world. Through music, discussion, and a note of humor, he weaves a calm, engaging, and thoughtful performance experience. He's had the honor of presenting at venues including the Smithsonian National Museum of the American Indian, the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival, Harvard Medical School graduation, and in the UK with the London Mozart Players. He also enjoys educational settings from kindergarten to university and small venues where he can engage the audience in dialogue. He's also a seasoned flute maker. You can check out his flutes right here for sale, and you could buy one today, which would be an amazing acquisition. His flutes have been all over the world and in several museums. He has 3 original CDs also for sale: First Light, Keeping the Fire, and Voices. He's a featured musician on the compilation CD Tribal Winds. His music has been used in a variety of films and documentaries, some of which won or were nominated for Emmy Awards. He's also featured in the Reciprocity Project film, Chuapanakik, The Approaching Dawn. Okay, please, without further ado, welcome Hawk Henrys.
You were going to ask people to come sit closer.
Yes, we have a request. We want you to come over here because we're moving into more of a performance. So please come on over here to the front of the stage, gather around to enjoy Hawk's music.
Thank you, Christine. Well, anyone who doesn't move over here has to give me money and chocolate. Preferably chocolate. You can keep the money. Hey, Christine. Oh, that's a nice song. Okay, how long would you like me to play for? 2 or 3 hours? Whatever you like. Okay. Anyway, can you turn it on and off? Okay, yeah. Thank you. Perfect. Thank you for coming out this morning and sharing your time with all of us. I appreciate Christine's effort to put together this event where we can acknowledge the existence of each other. It's so vitally important, I think. To be a little oppositional to what Christine said, I'm not quite a performer. I haven't figured out how to do that yet. And one of the things that I really love to do, besides sharing my flutes and other instruments, is I like to talk. I love to talk. I wish she would have invited me just to talk for like 8 hours. I would have had 6 coffees and probably said nothing for the whole time. Usually the events where I play at, not all of them, but many of them allow for an exchange between myself and for those the folks who've come to listen. And if time allows, I would invite you to share your ideas about what it is that's going on, or maybe if you have a question or two that I might answer, I'd be happy to do that as well. It really is a blessing, an honor to be here with my friends, with my family, with my relatives, and all of us. The idea of Indigenous Peoples Day is, I think, really important in that it acknowledges the existence of Indigenous people, which for so long has been either denied or an effort has been made to remove us. And of course, that wasn't so successful. I'll stammer a little bit here so that I don't talk too much. I think it's so important today that we see the original peoples of this land, of these lands, and then we see our relationship to each other so that as we move forward together, our children and their grandchildren for generations to come will do so, will live in a way that's respectful and healthful. Yeah. So, my friend Roger was talking about the sunrise. And for us flute players, there's a song that's a really easy song to play. It comes from the Southwest, from the Zuni people. And many of us flute players like to play it because of its simplicity and its beauty. And the song is, it's called the Zuni Sunrise Song, but in essence, it's about what Roger was speaking about. It's about, as we wake each day, to acknowledge the sun, to acknowledge the gifts that the sun brings to us. We can call that life. My dad, who's passed away some years ago, always used to say that when your eyes first open, it's a perfect time to acknowledge that gift, whether it's before the sunrise, at sunrise, or 10 or 12 o'clock in the afternoon, whenever it is that your eyes open, is the perfect time to acknowledge this gift of life. So here's a song from the Zuni people out in the Southwest, Zuni Sunrise. Thanks very much. One of the things that I should have mentioned is that I'm an avid bird watcher. So at any point in time, if I'm talking or playing and I get distracted, it's because there's something flying around. I'd like to play a song called Thanksgiving. And at this time of year, oftentimes when I say that, people think I might be either thinking about Thanksgiving that comes in a couple of weeks, I think, November sometime. But in truth, this song is one of my old songs that is meant to help me remember that we continually have these gifts in our lives that are so vitally important, so full of magic, and yet always or oftentimes overlooked. And these gifts are being able to hear and being able to see and smell and taste and move and feel. I can't help but thinking about walking when the snow's falling or when the rain's coming down, and what that feels like, how wonderful it is to feel those things. My work before my relationship to the flute began almost 40 years ago was with children with autism and pervasive developmental disabilities. And one day, one of the young persons that I worked with, she rested her arm on a stove that was hot, and her brain didn't process that. And it really caused me to pause and to think about what that would be like to not be able to feel. So I made this song some years ago as a way to remember these mundane, easily overlooked, magical gifts that we have. Thanksgiving. Thanks very much. So I mentioned I've been making and playing these flutes for about 36 years. Not very long. 36 years ago, when I first started making and playing them, there were very few flute makers and flute players of this kind. I had a few recordings that I listened to. There were like 3 or 4 recordings that were available. And I listened to them repeatedly, over and over and over. I really loved hearing this instrument. And this is a long story, so I'm going to skip a whole bunch of it. When I think about the fact that there were so few flute makers and flute players 36 years ago, it saddens me to a great degree. When I think I'm one of the old guys doing it now, it's kind of sad to think about it in that context. But I'd like to play a couple of songs from some of the people who inspired me to play this flute. A few folks, they've passed away now. They became friends of mine towards the latter part of their lives, and again, had a great influence on what it is that I do. So I like to think about them, but think about all of the old flute makers and flute players who came before me, even though the many that I didn't know, I stand on their shoulders. In my workshop, I have tools that are 100, 200 years old. And though I could get more modern day, tools at wherever, Home Depot, wherever people buy tools, I love the idea of using old tools. In a great way, it honors and releases, if you will, the stories, the experiences, the knowledge of those people who use those tools before me. And so in that same vein, when I think about the old flute makers and flute players, it's my hope to do the same, to honor them in that same light. So the first person I'd like to mention is a man whose name is John Rayner. John Rayner was from Taos Pueblo. John grew up in a family of singers. Their responsibility was to sing ceremonial songs for their people. John went and learned about the flute, feeling that his voice was inadequate. So he learned about the flute and eventually went to teach flute at Brigham Young University. And again, I'll skip a whole lot of this story, but I loved his ability to bring together musics from seemingly opposite ends of the spectrum in terms of musicality, in terms of culture, but bring them together and make beauty from them. So here's an old song from Taos Pueblo. Christine mentioned some work that I did with London Mozart Players. This was back in 2007. My family and I were invited to England. I spent 3 weeks traveling around to various academic institutions, running my mouth, and playing a little bit of flute too. One of the things that came from that was a desire to learn more about what classical music was about. My work with the London Mozart Players was actually a composition that I created, so they had to adapt their playing style to me. Prior to that, my knowledge of classical music was very limited. When I heard it, I turned it off. There's a little bit of humor in that, but not a whole lot. I didn't understand it, I didn't appreciate it, and consequently, I didn't like it. But my time with the London Mozart Players actually changed that dramatically. And I'll fast forward a whole lot of this story and say that it turned into an obsession with early European music, with Baroque, Renaissance, and medieval music. And for, a good 15 years, it's all I listened to. Listened to absolutely nothing else but early music. I don't remember how long ago it was, but I was looking at YouTube. And YouTube is a really incredible tool for all kinds of things that you don't really realize you need to know about. And I was looking at YouTube, listening to some Baroque music, I think, and all of the videos that were on this page had Baroque era art, except for one. There was a photograph of indigenous people, maybe there were 4 or 5 people in this photograph, and I recognized that the people in this photograph were from the area where I live. And so I clicked on it immediately. I was confused at why there would be this photo of native people with what I thought to be Baroque music. When I clicked on the video and it started playing right away, it was clear it wasn't. It was a song that was being sung by I think one of the persons in the photo. In any event, it touched me. It moved me deeply. It was a love song, and I knew that I needed to learn how to play it. So I listened closely, eked out the notes on my flute, and was content with learning to play the song. And then I listened to the entirety of the video, of the recording. It was a recording that was made in the early 1900s by an ethnomusicologist, and she described it as a whale hunter's song. One of my passions in life has been marine mammals, cetaceans. I love whales, and I love seeing them do whale things, swimming, and what whales do. So there was a lot of conflict when I heard that this was a song to honor, or to a song about hunting whales. So I put my flute down. I couldn't play a song that was about that. I put the flute down and I sat with this conflict in me for a while, and then came to the conclusion that, in fact, it was a love song. It was a song being sung in gratitude, in respect, in honor of the gift that the whale would bring to the people. Of course, we know that those of us who live on the coast, I live up on the coast of Maine, so in Wabanaki territory, but even here in what we think of as southern New England, those of us who lived on the coast used the ocean to live. So we hunted seals and porpoise and dolphins and fish and whales. This song that I'd like to play is a Mi'kmaq or Mi'kmaq whale hunter's song. Again, it's a song about gratitude for the gift of the whale. It's a song of hope that those who were hunting the whales in the small boats that would be used to go out on the ocean would return safely. Thanks very much. I have this flute. This is one that I didn't make. This flute was a gift after some time that I spent in a museum. I feel like the Wizard of Oz. Oh, perfect. Yeah, the following, I played at a museum, and the following year I was invited back, and the curator at the museum, or the director of the museum, she said, Hawk, after your last visit, someone came with a gift for you. So she went and she retrieved it. She brought this out. The note with this flute was that it would be okay if I were to just throw it away. And the flute had been crushed. Something heavy had fallen on it, or possibly maybe someone stepped on it, so it was not playable. But when I looked at it, I thought, oh no, this is too important to throw away or to disregard. I need to fix this. And so I talked with a friend or two at other museums who are conservators of musical instruments, and their advice was to donate it to a museum. And I kind of chuckled, I said, why would I want to do that? And they said, well, so people can see it. And I said, but if I fix it, people can see it, and they can hold it, and they can hear it. It can be played. It will stay alive. If it goes into a museum like many other musical instruments, it's just the skeleton of what the instrument was. It needs to be handled and played in order to stay living. And they didn't agree with that, but that's okay. So I fixed it. This flute was made around 1800, somewhere between 1800 and 1810. So it's pretty old. It's the maker was Potawatomi. Potawatomi people are, as you well know, part of the 5 nations of people who live out in the Great Lakes, Algonquin people, who were originally from here, from what we now think of as the Northeast or New England. And it's quite a bit different in terms of the way it sounds than most of my other flutes, but I'll just make some noise on it so you can hear this more than 200-year-old flute.
I had my nose up like, I think I put my nose back on.
So this flute that I made this one, about 32 or 33 or something like that many years ago. And I made this flute simply to play a song, one song that is meant to honor old European culture, old European traditions. our history together has been uncomfortable, and I'm being gentle with that. It's been very difficult, and there was a point in my own life looking and thinking about this history and the difficulties of it that caused me to be upset, angry. And so I carried this kind of anger with me for a while and did nothing with it. So it kind of festered, kind of, just stayed inside, and it grew larger and larger. And then I realized I needed to do something with this anger. What is it that I can do? So my conclusion was that if I learned about the history of and the traditions of people who came to this land from other places, that would be an important thing for me to do. And of course, we know that the old traditions of Europe, of the various cultures in Europe, weren't any different than the old traditions on this continent. And so for me, what made sense was, in learning that, to look at each other and see those common threads that weave their way through each other, through all of us, and to respect and honor those. I mentioned some work in England some years back, and I was chatting with a farmer, and at one point he apologized. He said, I really need to apologize to you for what my ancestors did to yours. And he said, you should know that before we came to your home, the Romans and the Normans and the Celts came to our home and did the same kinds of things to us. It's how we learned what would be effective in dealing with your people. And then his question was, what do we do? How do we stop one peoples from imposing themselves, inflicting pain on other peoples like that? And there was a silence between us. And then we came to the same conclusion, that it's incumbent upon each of us, that we each have the tools, the capacity, the ability to bring peace to the world, to bring health to the world, all in by what we do with each other. I loved that way of thinking, that we have that as individuals, have that capacity. I'm back. Okay. So here's a song that honors old European cultures. It reminds me that we sang similar songs and we danced similar dances. Yeah. Thank you. Do I have time for more? Or I do? Okay. I don't see Christine around telling me I should get off the stage, so I'll play one or two more short songs, okay? Feels like that weather's coming that we're supposed to get tomorrow, huh? I call this time of year big wave season. I do photography too, so whenever there's big storms, Christine said I could play 5 more songs, and each one is going to be 20 minutes long. Yeah, big wave season is this is a great time of year to go to the ocean when those waves are crashing against the shore, and yeah, that's where I'll be later or tomorrow anyway. I'd like to play a song that's a song, it's called Song for the Earth. And I've mentioned my obsession with things like birds and whales and ocean waves. But all of it, when I can't think of anything that lives on this earth with us that doesn't have an importance. There are things that might annoy us. There are things that might, make us wish that we could get away from them, like mosquitoes and black flies and green hit flies. Those kinds of things can be annoying, but they're important. They have a place. And I know that if the mosquitoes were less, the birds would be less, and the plants would then be less, and the trees would be less, and we would. So all things have their place and their importance. And I'm grateful to them. So a song for the earth. am I done, or can I do one more short one? So this last song that I'll play is 2 hours long. When I was a child, I would do things that would get me in trouble, and the consequence oftentimes levied upon me was to be grounded. And I back then it was the worst thing that any parent could ever do to a child, but I wish somebody would ground me today. It means I can't leave the yard. I love that. When I would get grounded, I would go sit. We had an apple tree, a few apple trees actually, and I would go sit in one of them, and the birds would fly away. But I was in the tree a lot, and the birds, after a while, they kind of got used to me, and so they would fly away, but they would come back shortly afterwards, and it provided me with the opportunity to watch what they did, and that began my love for birds. And again, it seems like most of my stories are really long, so I'll be brief with this one. I made this song to honor the gifts that the birds bring to us. In all of their goings on, they show us that different sizes, different colors, different aptitudes, different works that they do in the world all have an important place. And they remind me in a great way of us. We're all different. We all have different colors and different works to do and different voices. And it's those differences that bring beauty and the potential for health and healthy relationship to where we live. So a song for the birds. Thank you so much for sharing your time. Thank you for being, and Christine, thank you so much for creating this.
Check. There we go. Hi. How about another round for Hawk Henrys? Thank you so much, Hawk. It was beautiful as always. Real pleasure and honor to have you. Wow, the sun's coming back out, everybody. Woohoo! We have got the best day of the weekend here, and we are so excited. This has been a wonderful, meaningful gathering, and it's just getting better and better as we move towards the Machoon launch and the launch of the Birch Bark Canoe at 3 o'clock. So make sure if you have to go somewhere that you also come back to be part of this historic moment of launching these two incredible vessels on this river. So we're so excited to have back Dr. Claudia Foxtree. You met her earlier in the opening ceremonies if you were here. And if you weren't, you get a second chance to get to know her and hear her. And she's a fabulous educator. I've had the honor of working with her at Upstander Project and other places, and so delighted that she's back here. It's been, I think, a year or two since she's been here. So please welcome Dr. Claudia Foxtree.
Yeah, thank you, brother. Tagwe, hello. I'm not going to do my whole introduction because I did that earlier, and I am tall, but not quite that tall. And I'm happy to be back here. I want to tell you a little bit more about who I am. I'm a retired special education teacher, more than 30 years experience in the Metro West area. And all that time, and currently, even in my retired world, I am working in social justice, and particularly I work with initiatives for developing equity and achievement for all students called IDEAS, and it's under the Mass Association of School Superintendents banner. So you could find me there for courses that I teach. I want to thank the organizers for inviting me to Indigenous Peoples Day. I had a lot of commitments on Mondays, so when it's not on Mondays, I can attend here. And it's always a beautiful location and a great day, and I'm happy to be here. As a reminder, this day exists because of the hard work of so many Indigenous activists, educators, and allies who refuse to let the myth of discovery remain unchallenged. Today I want to talk about education as my background and what I got my PhD in, and specifically how we learn with the land. I want to explore the difference between place-based and land-based education and what it means to decolonize what we teach. We heard several tribal land acknowledgements this morning, and maybe you are hearing them in some other spaces. I strongly encourage folks to do them not only as the beginning of an event or a ceremony, but also when you introduce yourself. We often say our name and like, I'm from, and sometimes it's an institution, but a lot of times it's, I grew up in Concord, Massachusetts, which happens to be true. But I can also quickly add or say only, I grew up, raised my kids, and have predominantly lived on Pawtucket, Agawam, and Massachusetts lands. And that will help us reframe the map in our brain and in other people's thinking as well. But land acknowledgements are not just a box to check. They're an opening, an invitation, a way to be accountable to whose land we're on. And if we stop there, we're still centering ourselves. So we need to ask questions, become involved, do things that help the Indigenous people here. So when we're learning about place-based education, we're learning about that relationship. What happened here? What's happening here now? What's the impact? What should happen here ethically and ecologically? Place-based learning encourages students to know their community, the watershed, their neighborhood stories. It helps us care for and represent the place that we are currently living, to know the ecosystems, the history, the relationships, meaning how you care for the earth, which animals come out in which seasons, which plants are at which seasons. And this approach can lead to some deep learning and understanding of missing pieces of our own history and the history of the places where we are. Also, we can look at the health of local river structures, historic mills, trace labor innovation, and exploitation embedded in the lands that we're currently on. So place-based learning asks us to inhabit a place more fully, but it often stops short of asking whose place was it before colonization, or what knowledge system shaped it long before the arrival of European settlers. So place-based education teaches where we are, but land-based education teaches how to be in a right relationship with where we are. So land-based education is rooted in the indigenous worldviews and knowledge systems. It's not only about being outside, learning from nature. It's about our relationship, the recognition that the land itself is a teacher, a relative, a living archive. When I say land, I actually mean everything on the land. Our water, our air, our plants, our animals, the whole community of life. Did you know that onions that are put in what you might consider off-season, it's not when everything is being planted, have particular microbes and their own DNA that causes them to not sprout depending on what latitude they're at. So they might sprout earlier or later because they pay attention to the cold, the length of day, when it gets warm, how long it's staying warm day to day. There's a lot of knowledge that is from the land itself. For Indigenous people, land isn't a commodity. It's kin. It's our relative. Learning from the land means listening to what the land remembers, what it offers, and what it asks of us in return. Land-based education is intergenerational. No, it passes knowledge across time. It uses stories, songs, ceremony, and practice. It connects language, culture, survival. It acknowledges epistemicide, the deliberate killing of indigenous knowledge systems that came with colonization. Everybody who has come to a land that is not their ancestors' of thousands of years land comes with their own stories and songs about their climates, their mountains, their animals. That is not the case for Indigenous people. Our stories and songs are about this climate, these plants, these animals. When Indigenous people were removed from their lands, they didn't just lose territory. They also lost access to the foods, the medicines, ceremonies in particular places, and sometimes the memory, especially if the memory was severed and don't speak your language, come to our schools and we're not going to teach you about your culture. You're only going to learn about the culture of the dominant Christian white European society. It was a way to destroy Indigenous culture and replace with a colonial worldview. So when we talk about land-based education, we're talking about repairing that rupture. We're talking about reconnecting learning to the responsibilities that become part of being an ecosystem, not standing apart with it. So outdoor education might take students hiking or planting trees, which is valuable, but if we don't include Indigenous stories, languages, and worldviews, then we're still looking at the land through a colonial lens as scenery, not in relation. Another thing we can think about doing is starting to do more, so you've heard about omnivore and herbivores, locavore. This is a new word to me, and so I want to share with you the idea of eating more locally. You might have heard of this. You eat locally, you buy locally, then the money goes back into your own community. The other thing that this does is give you an opportunity to ask wherever you go, where is this sourced? What is the local farm? Do you know the farmer's name? Even doing that only 10%, buying locally, involved locally, will change the economy of where you are doing this local practice. And when you talk about it, it makes the people who are making decisions think about where they're sourcing things. So we can be, even if you don't want to eat locally, but you still talk about it, it can make a difference. So decolonizing means adding Indigenous books to the syllabus. It means changing frameworks so we consider what is knowledge, who is the authority for the knowledge, and what is truth. There's this great article called Decolonization is Not a Metaphor. It's by Tuck and Yang, and they talk about the importance of decolonizing not being just a general word like decolonize my mind, decolonize the library. It is really about returning land, power, and decision-making to Indigenous people. It requires settlers, which is all of us not on our Indigenous lands, to unlearn the habits of extraction, entitlement, and my truth is the only truth that colonization created. Patrick Wolf, another great article he wrote, He wrote that settler colonialism is a structure, not an event. It is ongoing, it did not end, and we need to keep teaching our language, telling our stories, and using whatever resources we have if we're not Indigenous. Might be connections with local folks that we can bring in, and it might be books or children's books by Indigenous authors, and there are several local Indigenous authors that have published books, so you can find that here. Just so you know, in Massachusetts, there is still no K-12 state requirement to teach Indigenous history across every grade level and every subject. There's no land-based learning standards. There's no bringing Indigenous knowledge into every subject. When my children were in school, a teacher rhetorically asked, prove that slavery was a good thing. The kids were horrified. They already knew slavery was wrong. That was the wording she used. I used enslavement. I'm just saying how she used it. They'd seen Roots, they'd read To Kill a Mockingbird, they watched movies, they absorbed the moral consensus of society. But when the teacher said, prove to me that Indigenous people were conquered and should stop fighting, most of the students didn't know how to respond. There is no cultural belief of what, or understanding of what happened to Indigenous people. And that omission has consequences. My children in school were teased about that. Yeah, you guys should be given up, because they didn't know enough, the students, to challenge that kind of a statement. So it isn't just what we do teach, it is what we do not teach. And decolonizing means starting with the truth. It means teaching students how to see knowledge is constructed, how it gets cited, how it gets silenced, and who gets to define civilization. And that's what I want to end with, the civilization piece, because I am descendant from the people who greeted a lost sailor known as Columbus. And the Arawak, Taino, Lucano, Carib, there were many nations in the Caribbean islands. Common thing among them was being island people, although there were ones on the land as well, and the language, the Arawakan language group. Thank you, Brothers Grimm. They were linguists who identified that as a group. One thing he did immediately when he saw that he could enslave and sell Indigenous people, thereby starting the transatlantic slave trade, was calling Indigenous people savage, uncivilized, animals, beasts. Basically we don't have to treat them humanely or as humans because they're savages. And so what started as a 15th century stereotype of being savage has continued until this day. Among the ideas of being savage was the cannibalism, and up to this day, you can see that in Pirates of the Caribbean movies. So Caribbean is real, even if the pirates are not real, or the story part of it. And the Caribbean, when he lands there, you see the bones all around, indicating the savageness and the cannibalness of the Indigenous people. The Declaration of Independence, a founding document that is taught in schools, clearly says, I'm paraphrasing, you, England, have not protected us from those merciless Indian savages. So that idea of being savage is right up to present day. And while high schoolers didn't watch Peter Pan the night before, they probably did watch it when they were 4, 5, 6 years old. So the exposure to Peter Pan and What Makes a Red Man Red, or Pocahontas, which has a song called Savages in it, stays with them because it's sometimes the only exposure that kids have had. And then it comes out when teachers ask rhetorical questions about Indigenous people. Well, they are savages. Well, maybe they should have given up. So this nation needs to look at the messages that we have absorbed and that we are allowing our children to absorb, and make sure that we present contemporary Indigenous authors, scientists, educators, and help decolonize so they internalize that Indigenous people don't just exist in the past, they also exist in present day. And we can have that relationship with the land itself following the additional teaching. So, Hahom, thank you. Sanukokona, abundant blessings.
And Thea will be coming to the stage in just a moment, and we'll get her on. And the sun is coming back. We are so happy. It's a great day. Thank you all. I want to remind you that we have workshops going on right now. We have Darius Coombs and Tootie Coombs doing a wampum making workshop. You can make your own pendant. You can make your own corn husk doll. You can make other things. They also have children's areas where you can touch furs and tools and things over there. So please go over and check out the wonderful workshops that are happening. We also want to acknowledge Elizabeth James Perry, who's here today and selling her absolutely exquisite jewelry. She's an internationally acclaimed artist, and we're so honored to have her here. She's going to be doing a finger weaving demonstration. So please go over and check out her incredible jewelry and weaving. We also would love to have your support. As you probably know, this is a volunteer-run nonprofit event. We're all volunteers here, except for the Indigenous people who we want to support, the artists and the presenters. So all of your money, your donations go to help support the continuance of these incredible traditions of culture and artistry. So please consider making a tax-deductible donation. We have Venmo, PayPal, GoFundMe, and if you go back to the raffle table or the advocacy table, you will see information about how to make a donation. We greatly appreciate that support. It goes very far to helping make today possible. Also want to thank our sound crew over here, Adam Stone, Michelle, and Eric, wherever he is. Right behind us, getting somebody on stage. You guys are awesome. They also play in a great band called Mama Do, so hopefully Mama Do will be back here. We usually have a show with them at least once a year, Earth Day. So Imagine Studios is a nonprofit. We do events throughout the year, culture and arts. We have open mics every month. We have drum circles. We have concerts. So check out our website, imaginestudios.org. Somewhere we probably have a mailing list out there that you can sign up for as well. Okay, so Thea is just about ready here. She is a member of the Aquinnah Wampanoag tribe of Martha's Vineyard. She calls her music Red Roots Americana. She has been described as a standout writer by the Washington Post. In 2024, she attended the ISPA Congress in Perth, Australia, and WOMEX in Manchester, UK, as a Western Arts Alliance artist delegate. The New York Stage and Film Fund selected Thea as a 2024 and 25 Northeast Indigenous Voices Artist Resident in support of her play, An American Ghost Dance. Venues where Thea has performed include Massey Hall, Banff Center for the Arts, Kennedy Center, the Woody Guthrie Folk Festival, the Mosley Folk Festival, the Atkinson, the Summer Teen Americana Festival, and the Bluebird Cafe in Tennessee. This summer, she brought her music to the Global Fest at Lincoln Center in New York City. And she first came to wider public notice when Peter, Paul, and Mary recorded her song, Jesus is on the Wire, in 2004. And then again in 2010 with the Prague Symphony Orchestra. It's considered one of their later signature songs. She has a new album which is scheduled to be released in January of this coming year. So we're so excited to have her here for the first time here at Newburyport's Indigenous Peoples Day. Please welcome Thea Hopkins.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, Christine, for that lovely introduction. Sounds good. Whoops. We got some nice weather for this afternoon, didn't we? Yes. Another round of applause for Claudia and for Hawk Henrys. It's wonderful to hear them both. As Christine mentioned, I'm a member of the Aquinnah tribe of Martha's Vineyard, and I want to just give a prayer of thanks to all my ancestors. And I'm going to start off with a tune I wrote about one of my ancestors. Her name was Tamsin Weeks, and she was an Aquinnah medicine woman. And she was known throughout New England for her remedies and for her cures. Folks would come over from the mainland to seek her out. Tamsin walks alone, gathering leaves and twigs. She'll dry them in the sun as the day birds sing. Tamsin Weeks, favorite brows, broken hearts. Tamsin Weeks, no worries what you need when life falls apart. Have a sip of her brew, ghost tea it is called. Sweet fern milk and not quite burned, it'll turn your troubles around. Tamsin Weeks, favorite brows, broken hearts. Tamsin Weeks, no worries what you need when life falls apart. Wampanoag who knows the earth and its healing ways, secrets passed down to her from Indian yesterdays. Tamsin Weeks, favorite brows, broken hearts. Tamsin Weeks, no worries what you need when life falls apart. No worries what you need when life falls apart. No worries what you need when life falls apart. Thank you. Thanks very much. So the second verse of that is actually one of her recipes goes to sweet fern and burnt milk. I haven't tried it, but I understand it was used for any digestive issues that you might have. So just passing on the information. So this next song is a song I wrote. It's called Newspaper Wings, and it was inspired by Martha's Vineyard and all the summers I spent there as a little girl at my grandfather's house on Lobsterville Road. And growing up in the country as I did. And how you dream of the big city. When I was a little girl, made myself some wings. Write a newspaper, tape and blue string, and I tie them to my shoulders, flap them real hard, ran around in circles outside in the backyard, and I was flying past the tall grass, flying in my head, places to see before day's end. I got a little older, I blossomed in the spring. I kind of fell in love. A boy gave me his ring, and he said, we'll marry, we'll settle down, you and me forever. In this little town, but I was flying past the tall grass, flying in my head, places to see before I wed. Oh, way beyond this town I flew, newspaper wings into the blue. So I bought myself a used car, an old Subaru. Fixed her up real pretty, almost like new. And I packed everything I wanted, it all fit in the trunk. A couple of boxes, my newspaper wings for luck. And I was flying past the tall grass, flying in my head, places to see where I sped. Oh, way beyond this town I flew, newspaper wings into the blue. Oh, way beyond this town I flew, newspaper wings, newspaper wings, newspaper wings, into the blue. Thank you. It wasn't actually a Subaru, it was a Volvo, but Subaru was a better rhyme, so there you go. So this next song I'm gonna share with you, it's a song I wrote called Mushup's Trail. And if you're familiar with Martha's Vineyard and the state road which takes you up to the Gayhead Cliffs, you take a left as you're heading up in that direction, and it takes you to Mushup's Trail. And it leads you right by the ocean all the way up to the cliffs. And you may know that Mushup was a giant. It's a Wampanoag legend. And it's a legend that was shared with me as a little girl by my Aunt Patsy, my grandfathers, and I'm sharing it with you today. I'm a child of this road where 10,000 years ago, Moshup, a giant what, on these sands, on these rocks. Oh, Moshup's Trail. Mushup stamped his right foot in the water and said, "Put cliffs of clay on this land where Wampanoags today still stand." Oh, my shop's trail. Oh, my shop's trail. Taller than the tallest tree, he came from across the sea. Now my ship's spirit lives here still in these cliffs and always will. A legend I was told as a child long ago. Oh, my ship's trail. Oh, my ship's trail. Oh, my ship's trail. I'm a child of this world. Thank you. So, I have a new album coming out in January of the coming year. This is one of the songs that's going to be on it. It's called Trouble. Pulled up a chair. And it's about finding love. And yesterday, I celebrated my 26th wedding anniversary. So, thank you. It's flown by. Trouble pulled up a chair out of nowhere yesterday. Frowning birds, highway bars, neon signs, honking cars as the sun rolled down. Trouble came around last night. Trouble pushed back the brim of his hat, rubbed his chin, then he turned, gave me a wink. Now I was drunk without one drink. As the sun rolled down, trouble came around last night. Trouble turned out to be the kind of trouble that I need. Was it only yesterday? Trouble came my way as the sun rolled down. Trouble came around last night. As as the sun rolled down. Trouble came around last night, last night, last night, last night, last night, last night. Thank you. So this is another song that's going to be on the album, and it's a song which is a prayer for peace, peace in this land, in other lands as well. It's called "I'm Not a Stranger." I'm not a stranger. You know me as a war. I've been here forever. I've come to many doors. I enter uninvited. I enter with my guns. Leave behind ruins. When my work is done, when my work is done, when my work is done, I am not a stranger. You know me as grief. I follow in war's footsteps as war becomes a thief. Know that I will come to you. Know that I will run and wrap my arms around you under the brightest sun. Under the brightest sun. Under the brightest sun. I am not a stranger. I am known as peace. You speak of your desire for me endlessly. But I do not speak falsely. I do not speak in tongues. Know that I will come to you when you lay down your guns. Lay down your guns. Lay down your guns. Lay down your guns. Thank you. So during the Indian Wars in the 1800s, Native tribes referred to the border between the United States and Canada as the medicine line. And the reason they considered it a magical line because they could cross over that line and the United States cavalry cannot follow them beyond that point. That's all I'm going to say. Buddy caught Chair Creek, only been back 1 week. Buddy broke down, stole some cash, put it in his pocket real fast. Buddy heard the sirens whine, took the road to Medicine Line. Buddy got tired of feeling chained like a junkyard dog in the rain. Scraps of dreams, scraps explode on an Indian res where a hard wind blows. Buddy heard the sirens whine, took the road to Medicine Line. Where the ghost and the copperheads and the whippoorwills cry up in these hills. Tracks on an old dirt road, couldn't even track them in the snow. But he crossed Medicine Line, a place your enemies will never find. But he heard the sirens whine, took the road to Medicine Line. Where the ghost and the copperheads and the whippoorwills cry up in these hills. They still talk about you around here and how you disappeared out there past Medicine Line, where you disappeared like a ghost in the sky. But he heard the sirens whine, so he took the road to Medicine Line, Medicine Line, Medicine Line. Thank you. So, about a year and a half ago or so, I was invited to rework a song which was in the Native American collection in the Library of Congress. It's called Red Wing. And I was curious about the song because it was a song that was written in 1906, and it was basically a Tin Pan Alley song which depicted an Indian maiden in this kind of stereotypical way. And as I was doing my research, which I love to do about things, I found out that there was an actress who went by the name, whose name was Red Wing, and she was also known as Lillian St. Cyr. And so when I found out this information, I went to the folks that had invited me to reinterpret the song. They said, I would like to rewrite these lyrics celebrating Lillian St. Cyr's life as the first Native American film star. And they were thrilled with the idea. And so I rewrote the song in honor of Lillian St. Cyr. On a winter day, born on Nebraska plains, Lillian St. Cyr, Red Wing was your Indian name, named by Standing Bear, Lillian St. Cyr made her way when the way was not clear. Whoa, Red Wing, whoa, Red Wing, on the silver screen in 1914. Whoa, Red Wing, whoa, Red Wing, native pioneer Lillian St. Cyr. Red Wing was sent to residential schools. There to learn all the white man's rules, where you were taught it was a sin just to be Indian. Whoa, Red Wing, whoa, Red Wing, on the silver screen in 1914. Whoa, Red Wing, whoa, Red Wing, native pioneer Lillian St. Cyr. Look through the lens of way back when Red Wing worked with what she had then, named by Standing Bear. Lillian St. Cyr made her way when the way was not clear. Whoa, Red Wing, whoa, Red Wing, on the silver screen in 1914. Whoa, Red Wing, whoa, Red Wing, native pioneer Lillian St. Cyr. Whoa, Red Wing, oh, Red Wing, native pioneer Lillian St. Cyr. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, so she was in Cecil B. DeMille's first film in 1914, unfortunately named Squaw Man, but she made her mark with the material that she had. So, and she went on to continue after her film career, being native rights advocate and involved with founding the Native American Community Center on the Lower East Side, which is there today. So I'm going to do a couple more tunes here, and I want to thank Christine and everybody involved, Adam, everybody involved with the sound and organizing this event, and I want to thank you all for being here today and celebrating Indigenous Peoples Day, which I like to say is every day. Lilac sky turning black, train rolls down railroad track. Streets so narrow where we fall into each other's arms.
Angels have wings to fly. Angels have wings. Angels have wings to fly. And baby, so do you and I. Windows rattle like tambourines. This hotel, tonight we're a dream. Of blue highways, blue mountain tops, everything cannot stop. Angels have wings to fly. Angels have wings. Angels have wings to fly. And baby, so do you and I. Tin roof, died where we met. I sit here trying to forget. Tell me where does love go? It runs off that eternal. Need to know. Angels have wings to fly. Angels have wings. Angels have wings to fly. And baby, so do you and I. Angels have wings to fly. Angels have wings. Angels have wings to fly. And baby, so do you and I. Thank you. Thanks very much. Well, my guitar has been cooperating pretty well, so it's always nice. So I want to thank you all again for listening and coming out today to celebrate. I'm going to finish up with, it's actually two songs. First part of it's known as Creek Lullaby or Margaret Song. It goes to my song Love Come Down. And Margaret's song is a song that, once again, this song that I knew that the Library of Congress invited me about 3 years ago now, to reinterpret and rearrange. And I said, yes, I'd love to do that. And so I knew the song in English, but I didn't know it in Creek. And I'm not a member of the Creek Nation, so before I learned it in Creek, I contacted them and and asked them if I could sing the song in Creek, have their permission to. And they said, absolutely. And there's something we would like, could you please share when you sing the song, how it originated? And I said, yes, of course. And they said, please let people know that this is a song that originated during the Trail of Tears, when tribes were being removed from their traditional homelands and being brought to reservations. And it was composed by mothers to comfort the children at night as they were gathering and being overwhelmed by the sound of artillery and noise and all of what was going on. And so I'm going to sing it in English, in Creek, and then I'm going to sing it in English, and then it goes into my song, Love Come Down. And I think that we all essentially know that love is the answer to everything in its many forms: compassion, empathy, connection. And this is what we are doing here today. We're connecting. We're creating a community, Indigenous and non-Indigenous, together today. And so the chorus of my song is Love Come Down. And if you feel so inspired when that comes around, please feel free to join in. I have confidence that after the first time you hear it, you'll know how it goes. So there's a lot of love here today, and we can bring more love down too. So thank you all again. Baby, no, it's up. No, it's up. No, it's up. Lots of hope upon our young soul. Bakseno, alakahi, maketo, our young say. Baby, no, it's up. Baby, sleep, sleep. Father has gone to find turtle shells. He'll return tomorrow. Baby, sleep. On this day, without a sound, drops of rain fall on dry ground, and every prayer that never heard is answered. Every word. Love, come down. Love, come down. And hold my hand, and I'll hold yours. A remedy, simple cure. In this world where wrong has might, many times turning day to night. Love town.